Why education system of India and America is creating more unemployed people. Why USA and India's education systems are failing bright minds, the hidden design behind graduate unemployment in 2025.
Welcome to Question Everything, where we challenge the status quo and dive deep into truths no one else dares to. Get ready to question everything you know.
Imagine a system where the brightest minds in the USA and India pour years into education, only to face jobless futures and crushing debt. Why are these developed nations' schools churning out unemployed graduates by design? Let's uncover the hidden flaws in their education systems and expose the truth behind this growing crisis. In the USA, 7% of college graduates aged 25 to 34 were unemployed in 2023, with 43% underemployed in jobs not requiring degrees. Student debt averages $37,000 per borrower in 2025. In India, 13.8% of youth aged 15 to 29 were unemployed in 2025, with 35.8% of graduates jobless, compared to 3.4% for those with minimal education, per the periodic labor force survey. Outdated curricula. India's education system emphasizes rote memorization over critical thinking. A 2025 report shows 70% of 10-year-olds can't read basic texts, creating a weak foundation for advanced skills. In the USA, colleges prioritize broad liberal arts degrees, with 60% of students pursuing fields like humanities that have limited job growth, misaligned with market needs. Only 20% of Indian engineering graduates and 41% of US graduates are deemed job-ready by employers, citing gaps in practical skills like coding or data analysis. Oversupply of graduates. India produces 2 million graduates annually, but job creation lags at 8 to 9 million new jobs yearly against a need for 12 million, leaving millions without work. The USA graduates 1.9 million students each year, flooding fields like social sciences where jobs grow only 2% annually, compared to 10% in tech and healthcare. This oversupply creates fierce competition. In India, 47% of graduates are unemployable due to skill mismatches, while US graduates take low-wage jobs outside their fields. Lack of vocational training. India's vocational training is severely lacking, only 3.7% of the workforce is formally trained, compared to 52% in the USA and 96% in South Korea, per 2025 data. In the USA, vocational programs are underfunded, with only 5% of high schoolers in career technical education, despite 30% of jobs requiring trade skills like mechanics or nursing. This gap forces reliance on academic degrees that don't meet market demands, leaving graduates unprepared for high-growth sectors like AI, cybersecurity, or renewable energy. Job market misalignment. India's IT sector needs 1 million skilled workers yearly, but curricula lag, teaching outdated languages like C++ instead of Python or cloud computing, critical in 2025. U.S. education fails to scale STEM training, only 28% of graduates major in STEM fields, despite 15% annual job growth in data science and software development. Employers report a skills gap. 65% of U.S. firms and 80% of Indian firms struggle to find qualified candidates, as schools churn out degrees irrelevant to modern economies. Policy and funding failures. India's National Education Policy 2020 aims for reform, but implementation is slow. Only 15% of schools have adopted skill-based curricula by 2025, leaving gaps unaddressed. U.S. education funding prioritizes elite institutions, with public colleges receiving 20% less per student funding than in 2008, limiting access to practical training programs. India's Skill India program trained 10 million youth but placed only 22% in jobs, while U.S. retraining programs lack the $10 billion needed to meet automation-driven shifts. Global hypocrisy. World leaders praise education as a path to success, yet ignore its failures. In the USA, 40% of graduates work in non-degree jobs, a fact rarely addressed globally. India's youth dividend is lauded, but 28 million educated youth are jobless, and 100 million, mostly women, have stopped seeking work, per 2025 reports. If Germany or Singapore faced this, global forums would demand action. For India and the USA, the crisis is downplayed, exposing selective concern for systemic issues. Social and mental impact. Unemployment breeds despair. In India, 29.1% of graduates face joblessness, leading to social stigma, and 40% reporting anxiety or depression due to financial strain. U.S. graduates carry $1.7 trillion in collective debt, with 20% defaulting, delaying life milestones like homeownership and fueling mental health crises. This broken system sparks unrest. India sees youth protests, while U.S. graduates quiet quit in unfulfilling jobs, disengaged from a system that failed them. Solutions for change. Reform curricula urgently. India must integrate AI, coding, and critical thinking into schools, while the USA should expand STEM and vocational tracks for 50% of students. Boost vocational training. India needs to train 10% of its workforce annually, like South Korea, and the USA must invest $10 billion yearly in trade programs. Support startups and apprenticeships. India's $5 million Makers Fund and U.S. tax breaks could create 1 million jobs each, aligning education with market needs. What rest of the world is doing right? Finland's elite teacher training. In Finland, teachers are trained like doctors, requiring a 5-year master's degree from top universities, with only 10% of applicants accepted. This rigorous process ensures educators are research-savvy and skilled, fostering innovative teaching that prepares students for jobs. In 2025, 90% of Finnish graduates find employment within 6 months, unlike India's 35.8% jobless graduates. The USA and India must invest in teacher training to produce adaptable, job-ready students. Germany's dual vocational system. Germany's dual education blends classroom learning with paid apprenticeships, with 70% of students in vocational tracks by 2025. Companies train students in real-world skills, like engineering, ensuring 8% youth unemployment compared to India's 13.8%. The USA, with only 5% in vocational programs, and India, at 3.7%, should adopt this model to align education with industry needs, reducing graduate unemployment. Finland's equity-driven approach. Finland's schools prioritize equity, offering free meals, materials, and support to all students, regardless of background. In 2025, Finland's child poverty rate is under 5%, and 90% of students achieve reading proficiency, narrowing achievement gaps. Unlike the USA's $37,000 student debt burden or India's rote learning barriers, this inclusive model ensures employability. Adopting equity-focused policies can help all graduates thrive. Hope for the future. Individuals can take charge. Enroll in online platforms like Coursera for skills in data science or cybersecurity, with 15% job growth in both nations. Advocate for change. Support India's NEP 2020 or U.S. apprenticeship expansions to align education with industries like tech and healthcare. With collective action, India, USA, and rest of the world can transform their youth into global innovators, creating jobs and prosperity by 2030. Act now to reshape education for a brighter future. Collective action, through online learning, policy change, and global inspiration, can reshape education, ensuring no bright mind in the USA or India faces a jobless future.
Your opinion is what helps us expand our knowledge. Please share your thoughts on the question we asked and let us know what we should investigate next. Don't forget to subscribe to Question Everything and hit the bell. Stay curious and keep questioning.